Om. Om. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Namami Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Jai Gurudev.
हरि ओम जय गुरुदेव। ओम श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ अष्टमोऽध्यायः अक्षर ब्रह्म योगो नाम। अर्जुन उवाच किं तद्ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मं किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः श्रीभगवानुवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं स्वभावोऽध्यात्ममुच्यते भूतभावोद्भवकरो विसर्ग कर्म संगितः अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः पुरुषश्चाधिदैवतम् अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र देहे देहभृतां वर अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः प्रयाति समद्भावं याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावं त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरं तं तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु मामनुस्मरयुध्य च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्मामे वैश्यस्य संशयम् अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन् कविं पुराणमनुशासितारं मनोरणीयां समनुस्मरेद्यः सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम् यदक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति विशन्ति अद्यतयो वीतरागाः यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोरधि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्याधायात्मनः प्राणाम् आस्थितो योगधारणाम्. Brahmaraji, correct pronunciation? Kindly correct me if I am mistaken. ओमितेकाक्षरं ब्रह्म व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम् अनन्यचेता सततं यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः तस्याहं सुलभ पार्थ नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयमशाश्वतम् नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः. We were just looking at the upasana. I will just read that. तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु मामनुस्मरयुध्य च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्मामे वैश्यस्य संशयः. Therefore, remember me at all times and fight, being one whose mind and intellect are offered unto me. You will reach me alone. There is no doubt. So one should always reflect on Parameshwara because Sarvabhuteshu, that is the only Satya. Think of Bhagavan and do what is to be done. Here Arjuna is told to fight because they are in the war field. Then one will definitely recognize Bhagavan at death. If throughout the life, if he has recognized that whatever he is doing, whatever he is enjoying, it is as a prasad buddhi, then even at the time of the death, he will have the smaranam of Ishvara only, and he has recognized the fact that his Atma is Parameshwara. Then one will definitely recognize Bhagavan at death. Removal of obstructions to moksha. As Swamiji has beautifully explained, there are avarana, ignorance, impurity, and agitation. There are three possible obstructions. I will just quickly browse through the text. Ignorance. There are three basic obstructions for moksha. One is ignorance, avarana. The self is already free. So I must only recognize the fact that I am identical with Brahman and therefore free. Knowledge of this moksha and what denies it is ignorance. Another is impurity. For any knowledge to take place, the mind must be prepared. For knowledge of Atma, lack of preparedness may be in two forms. One is mala, impurities gathered in previous births, which unfold as difficult situations in this birth. To neutralize these, we do daily duties and prayers. Powerful likes and dislikes, raga, dveshas, also obstruct this knowledge, and karma is again advocated to neutralize them. Agitation, the other obstruction is agitation. Without a composed mind, inquiry cannot be done properly. The mind has to be rendered steady by meditation. Some of the more complicated forms of meditation require great concentration and will bring about steadiness. You also understand the ways of the mind as it keeps moving from one thing to another, and you have to bring it back. In the process, you gain steadiness. Purity and steadiness of mind go together. As one increases, so does the other. Karma produces purification of the mind. Meditation produces steadiness of the mind. Karma, meditation, and inquiry into the Shastra are the three means of dealing with the three obstructions. Please remember, as we are rightly doing our Atma Sanyam Yoga also, parallel to this, so that is teaching us how to meditate properly with Mata Chitta Mata Para. I will just repeat this line, it is very important. As one increases, so does the other. Karma produces purification of the mind. Meditation produces steadiness of the mind. Karma, meditation, and inquiry into the Shastra are the three means of dealing with the three obstructions, which are ignorance, impurity, and agitation. So, in the next two verses, Krishna talks about a person who meditates upon Parameshwara. There are different types of meditation apart from Nividhyasana, contemplation. So now it is beautifully explained. We will read now. Meditation, upasana. When a form is involved in meditation, it is called upasana. There are two types of upasana, sampat upasana and ahangraha upasana. Sampat upasana. The sampat upasana, a given object is looked upon as something more than it is. Two objects are involved, the one you know and the other you impose upon it. You may look upon the mind as Ishvara. In this form of meditation, you impose upon an ordinary object something greater. This Sampat Upasana gives you a steadiness of mind, a general result of any meditation. By this, we mean absence of agitation, a state of mind wherein there is a capacity for absorption and a degree of inner composure. This is an immediate gain called Drishtaphala, a result that is seen. Besides this, being a prayer, Sampat Upasana produces an unseen result, which we call Adrishtaphala. According to the Shastra, this is generally in the form of the gain of other lokas. Ahangraha Upasana. In this second type of Upasana, Brahman, the cause of everything, is equated to Aham, I. But it is not pure knowledge because there is a vritti involved connecting two things. It is something like contemplation. So it is at the level of Ahankara. Since The ahankara has not been negated, the recognition has not yet taken place. There are, I think, Sampat Upasana, Bhagavan's Swarup, I think Swarup Lakshana to be kept in mind. And this is what is my little understanding. In this form of meditation, you impose upon an ordinary object something greater. This Sampat Upasana gives you a steadiness of mind.
I think it's much like a form, worship of a form.
Yeah,
Either worship of a
Sarupyam.
form. Yeah. But then here he had mentioned two objects are involved. The one, you may look upon the mind as Ishvara. So it may be either a form or any anatma vishya, you take upon and impose a higher object on that. Impose the Brahman on that. It is only to give you that aspect of reverence. Only when you look up to something that is higher than you. So I think that is the whole purpose of the Sampat Upasana. All forms of form, worships with form, I think would come under this. That is why it gives you that unseen result, which we call Adrishta Phala.
And
So
even
either form or
Drishtaphala.
ritual, Drishta Phala, of course, and Adrishta Phala. Both, right?
Yeah, because look at the form we feel pleased. I think that may be the...
See, the immediate absence of agitation, state of mind wherein there is a capacity for absorption and a degree of inner composure. This is an immediate gain. See, this is what we experience when we sit in a, say, Rudrabhishek or Rudram chanting or any form of prayer, even a bhajan for that matter. So all that would come under Sampat Upasana, I suppose. Because you have that immediate gain as well as the Adrishta Phala, where you're doing this for that mental composure, that steadiness of the mind. As also dhyana, I'm not sure whether dhyana will also come under Sampat Upasana. Anyway, I think when we read further, we'll understand. Ahangraha Upasana is like you're doing the Brahma Bhyasa. Yeah, it is only that Aham Brahmasmi, and you're contemplating on that. There is a vritti involved. It is more like Nididhyasana. So, yeah, I think we'll go further. We may be able to understand
and
it.
Sattvic Ahankara is kept. I think in third chapter it was introduced. Okay, so the next two verses can be taken as Ahangriha Upasana or as Nididhyasana. Let us look at them as Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana. Abhyasayogayuktena chetasa nanyagamina paramam purusham divyam yati parthanuchintayan. Partha, O son of Pritha, Arjuna, Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena Chetasa, with a mind which is endowed with the practice of yoga, na anyagamina, which does not go to anything else, anuchintayan, reflecting as he was taught, paramam divyam purusham, to the limitless person who is effulgent. Yati, he goes. Partha abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa na anyagamina anuchintayan paramam divyam purusham yati. O Partha, reflecting as he was taught with a mind endowed with the practice of yoga, with a mind that does not stray to anything else, he reaches the limitless, self-effulgent person. I repeat, O Partha, reflecting as he was taught, with a mind endowed with the practice of yoga, with a mind that does not stray to anything else, he reaches the limitless, self-effulgent person. The meditator goes to the limitless, self-effulgent person. Paramam, Divyam, Purusham, Yati. Purusha means a person and he is Parama. So there is no possibility of him being anything less than the limitless person who is everything, from whom nothing is separate. And he is Divya. Two meanings are possible here for the word Divya. One who is born in heaven, a celestial, is called Divya, or it means the one who is all effulgent, Parmeshwara, who is essentially the meaning of the word I. He goes to that. How does he achieve this? Anuchintayan, by contemplating. Chintayan means doing inquiry, contemplating, or meditating. Anu means according to the Shastra. Contemplating on the words of the Shastra in keeping with what is understood through the Shastra Pramana is Anuchintana. I repeat as there is a breaking of voice. Anuchintayan, by contemplating. Chintayan means doing inquiry, contemplating or meditating. Anu means according to Shastra, contemplating on the words of the Shastra in keeping with what is understood through the Shastra Pramana is Anuchintana. As a student listens to the words of the teacher, if his mind follows the thought process that takes place, he is doing Anuchintana. The teacher is also doing Anuchintana because he follows the Shastra. The object of this contemplation is also shown by the words Paramam Purusham Divyam. And the result is that he goes to that same Purusha because Atma happens to be that. He contemplates upon the infinite and there is no contemplation upon the infinite minus you or anything else. Thinking, contemplating here is just seeing a fact that you have already come to know through the Shastra. It may be preceded by a few steps of thinking given by the Shastra, which is conducive to arriving at its solution. Seeing naturally implies a mind. So he points out the kind of mind that is required. Abhyasa yoga yuktena na anya gamina chetasa. Chetasa means by the mind, and two adjectives are given to describe the mind. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa means by a mind that is endowed with abhyasa, practice, which itself is yoga. Na anyagamina chetasa means by a mind that does not go to anything else. This is very, very important, Anuchintana and na anyagamina chetasa. I will just repeat because it is very, very important. Anuchintayan, Anuchintayan, by contemplating. Chintayan means doing inquiry, contemplating or meditating. Anu means according to the Shastra, contemplating on the words of the Shastra in keeping with what is understood through the Shastra Pramana is Anuchintana. As a student listens to the words of the teacher, If his mind follows the thought process that takes place, he is doing anuchintana. The teacher is also doing anuchintana because he follows the shastra. The object of this contemplation is also shown by the words Paramam Purusham Divyam. And the result is that he goes to that same Purusha because Atma happens to be that. He contemplates upon the infinite, and there is no contemplation upon the infinite minus you or anything else. Thinking, contemplating here is just seeing a fact that you have already come to know through the Shastra. It may be preceded by a few steps of thinking given by the Shastra, which are conducive to arriving at its vision. Seeing naturally implies a mind, so it brings out the kind of mind that is required. Abhyasa yoga yuktena anyagamina chetasa. Chetasa means by the mind, and two adjectives are given to describe the mind. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa means by a mind that is endowed with abhyasa, practice, which itself is yoga. Na anyagamina chetasa means by a mind that does not go to anything else. So here beautifully Swamiji has explained the importance of our daily prayers, our daily sadhana, our daily meditation. If you want me to repeat anything, please let me know, or if you wish to share. Only the chosen object is allowed to occupy the mind. Anything else is dismissed as it arises. It is important to note that the meditation that does not cease when other thoughts arise. If that were to be the case, meditation would not be possible. When you meditate upon a given object, there is always the possibility of getting distracted. That is why you meditate. As we saw in the 6th chapter, whenever the mind strays from the chosen object of meditation, you bring it back. Yato yato nischarati tastato niyamyayatata. Chapter 6, verse 26. Yato yato nischarati मनश्चञ्चलमस्थिरं ततस्ततो नियम्यैतत् आत्मन्येव वशं नयेत. So, bringing the mind back to the object of meditation is also part of meditation. When Arjuna told Krishna that the mind is itself agitation and he did not think he could do anything about it, that is chapter 6, verse 34. He complained, no, that I will just read that 34 and 35. So Arjuna is complaining like us only. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramathi balavat dridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayuriva sudushkaram. Shri Bhagavan asamshayam mahabaho मनोदुर्निग्रहं चलम् अभ्यासेन तु कौन्तेय वैराग्येण च गृह्यते. So, when Arjuna told Krishna that the mind is itself agitation and he did not think he could do anything about it, Krishna agreed with him. Then he told him that it could be managed by Vairagya and Abhyasa. This is the Abhyasa meant here. He emphasizes it by saying yoga, which is another word that means the same thing. Yoga is Abhyasa, and Abhyasa is a yoga, a means for gaining a mastery over the mind. Please remember, yoga is Abhyasa, and Abhyasa is a yoga, a means for gaining a mastery of over the mind. This meditator contemplates upon the Purusha who is limitless and all effulgent, and he comes to identify himself as that Purusha. Now, further, what is the nature of that Purusha he meditates upon and comes to recognize as himself? Anyone wants to repeat before we go to the next verse where Bhagwan's that Uttam Purusha, Divya Purusha, how he is mentioned. If you want me to read anything or repeat, please let me know. कविं पुराणमनुशासितारमनु मनोरणीयां समनुस्मरेद्यः सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमस परस्तात्. Kavim, the one who is omniscient, Puranam, the most ancient, Anushasitaram, the one who rules everything, Manoho Aniyama, who is subtler than the subtlest, Sarvasya Dhara, the one who orders form, Achintya Rupam, whose form cannot be conceived of, Aditya Varnam, whose form is like luster of the sun, Tamasa Parastat, the one who is beyond ignorance and knowledge, Yaha Anusmaret, the one who contemplates upon, Saha, he, Paramam Purusham Divyam, to the limitless person who is effulgent. Yati goes. There is a footnote. This verse connects to the previous verse in this manner. The words that connect are brought down from the previous verse. So the Yati word is the one which is connecting the verse 7, 8. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoho Aniyamsam Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parastat Yah Anusmaret Sah Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati. The one who contemplates upon the one who is omniscient, the most ancient, who rules, subtler than the subtlest, ordainer of all, whose form cannot be conceived of, who is effulgent like the sun, who is beyond ignorance and knowledge. He goes to the limitless, self-effulgent person. I repeat, the one who contemplates upon the one who is omniscient, the most ancient, who rules, subtler than the subtlest, ordainer of all, whose form cannot be conceived of, who is effulgent like the sun, who is beyond ignorance and knowledge, he goes to the limitless, self-effulgent person. Yah Anusmaret, the one who properly meditates upon. Smarana, recalling, is only possible when you have come to know something. Anusmarana is in keeping with what is already known to you. So, the meaning of this statement is the one who contemplates after Shravana and Manana. On whom does he meditate? He meditates upon Parmeshwara, who is described by the following words. Kavi, the one who sees through. Kavi is an excellent word for Parmeshwara. It also means poet, because a poet sees something more than what meets the eye. Here, Bhagwan is called Kavi, not because he sees something more, but because he sees everything, past, present, and future. Kavi here means the one who is all knowing. Purana, the one who is ancient, who in fact is eternal. Anushasita, the one who rules the whole creation, because of whom the law of dharma and all other laws in the creation exist. Anoh Aniyan, the one who is subtler, Anuhu, I think, Aniyan. It is Anuhu, right? Anuhu Aniyan.
Yeah, it's Anu. Anu is an atom. No?
Yeah, Anuhu Aniyan. So beautiful words. Anu Aniyam. The one who is subtler than the subtlest thing you can conceive of. Anything that you can conceive of, even the subtlest concept, is an object of thought. But what is contemplated upon here is the one because of whom that subtlest of thoughts is known. Sarvasya Dhata, the one who is the ordiner of everything, the one who meditates upon Ishvara in this manner comes to recognize himself as the upholder of this cause-effect relationship, the giver of the fruits of all actions. Previously, he was only an agent, subject to the ups and downs of the results of his actions as they were given by Ishvara's law of karma. By contemplating upon the Swarupa of Parmeshwara, he identified himself as Parmeshwara, who is Sat Chit Ananda Atma. I repeat once again, these all beautiful Parmeshwara's description. The first is Kavi, the one who sees through. Kavi is an excellent word for Parmeshwara. It also means poet because a poet sees something more than what meets the eye. Here, Bhagwan is called Kavi not because he sees something more, but because he sees everything, past, present, and future. Kavi here means the one who is all-knowing. Purana, the one who is ancient, who in fact is eternal. Anushashita, the one who rules the whole creation, because of whom the law of dharma and all other laws in the creation exist. Anoha Aniyan, the one who is subtler than the subtlest thing you can conceive of. Anything that you can conceive of, even the subtlest concept, is an object of thought. But what is contemplated upon here is the one because of whom that subtlest of thoughts is known. Sarvasya Dhata, the one who is the ordiner of everything, the one who meditates upon Ishvara in this manner comes to recognize himself as the upholder of this cause-effect relationship, the giver of the fruits of all actions. Previously, he was only an agent, subject to the ups and downs of the results of his actions as they were given by Ishvara's law of karma. By contemplating upon the Swarupa of Parmeshwara, he identified himself as Parmeshwara, who is Sat Chit Ananda Atma. Achintya Rupa, the one whose form cannot be thought of. What you cannot think about can also be.
Sorry, Leela, sorry. Can you just read the previous um, sentence where he says before he was thinking that he was the
The cause if,
recipient.
yeah,
Yeah, just that.
Sarvasya Dhata, the
Yes,
one
from
who
that.
is the odd, yeah, Sarvasya Dhata, the one who is the ordiner of everything, the one who meditates upon Ishvara in this manner to recognize himself as the upholder of this cause-effect relationship and the giver of the fruits of all actions. Previously, he was only an agent, subject to the ups and downs of the results of his actions as they were given by Ishvara's law of karma. By contemplating upon the Swarupa of Parmeshwara, he identified himself as Parmeshwara, who is Sat Chit Ananda Atma. So I think from Jignasu, he has become the Jnani now. So previously, he recognized himself.
Jai Gurudev, yesterday we were reading that shloka, which the last one, it was 28. 28 we did, or we had to do? In that,
28.
yeah, so
Yato
in that,
Nischarati.
yeah, so you sent that two paragraphs on the WhatsApp group. Just before that was a paragraph where it was mentioned that the kartru and karma difference, that is no difference between the karta and karma.
Correct.
All it's related with that words also.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you go beyond the shackles of karma, that is one. And second, you are above that cause effect relationship. You are actually the one. If you're contemplating on Ishvara as the Sarvasya Dhata, the one that ordains everything, you are contemplating on him, and that is what you are. So you rise above this karta, karma, and all the usual effects of karma. So you go beyond that. That is what it means, right?
We have to remember all this Kavi, Purana, Anushashita, Anuhanya, Sarvasya Dhata, Achintya Rupa, form cannot be thought of. What you cannot think about can also be non-existent, but here it is existent. If you take it as the one who is in the form of creation, how are you going to think about him? I repeat as there is a breaking of voice. Achintya Rupa, the one whose form cannot be thought of. What you cannot think about can also be non-existent, but here it is existent. If you take it as the one who is in the form of creation, how are you going to think about him? There is the known as well as the unknown. If you want to appreciate omniscience or all pervasiveness, the one whose form is the whole creation, how are you going to imagine that? Your mind is capable of thinking of only one thing at a given time. It is not possible for a human mind to imagine everything at the same time. And if you look at Ishwara's own Swarupa as Atma, he is not available for objectification. It is Chaitanya, as the next word reveals. Aditya Varna, the one who has the appearance of the sun. The form of the sun is nothing but light. It is not a light that comes and goes. It is always in the form of light and it illumines everything. Similarly, this Purusha is in the form of consciousness which is not subject to increasing and decreasing. Like the sun, it always illumines without any motive or intention. When we say it illumines everything, we are using a verb that implies an agent. But here, there is no agency involved. Its essential nature is to shine. Like the sun, it illumines anything in front of it. Without doership, self-shining Atma illumines the entire creation. Everything shines after it. It is asanga, untouched by what happens in its light. This is so very similar to our Atma Bodha shloka. Anyone remember that? Like the sun, our Atma is,
That is the
which is,
Surya Lokam Yatha Janaha. I think it is that what you're referring to?
yeah,
Where
yeah, it
he,
illumines
he,
everything.
he
Yeah,
illumines everything. He's a witness of everything. He's untouched
yes.
by everything.
Mhm. So beautiful description, which itself
And
is like,
also what Dr. Savita shared about the sun, um, the practice, the meditation that she was doing. In fact, it's coincidental that I'm actually out in the lawn and the sun is right there. And it is such a beautiful experience to just look at the early morning sun. And you, when you close your eyes, it is like your whole body is filled with that light. So that is a beautiful practice. I have not done that. Even Percy ji had taught us this Surya Yoga, which would be a good idea to pursue that. For this Aditya Varna, for contemplating on this aspect of Ishvara.
Yeah, the more you do on daily practice, the more you will imbibe the light and heat both inside you. And it has that healing properties which you will not know on day one. But as you do it on daily basis, you will see that all the aches which body has, sometimes some part is aching or sometimes some part is aching, you will be relieved of that quite often, because it is only the energy that we are receiving. It has its effects. Yeah.
And scientifically also, of course, it is the energy. Scientifically also, you're getting all your vitamin D from that. And we know that
mhm.
vitamin D is required in so many um, mechanisms all over the life processes. And deficiency of that can cause all these kinds of aches, pains, and all kinds of even reduced immunity, falling sick. So it means, I mean, there is a scientific correlation as well. And the practice itself is beautiful.
That is why its name chanting the names of Surya Deva are also so enlightening. Mitraya Namaha, Hiranya Garbhaya Namaha. Everything shines after it. This is a beautiful word. It is asanga, untouched by what happens in its light. So it is so beautiful, this sentence. It is asanga, untouched by what happens in its light. Without doership,
Actually, so there's
self-shining.
a lot of sun coming in today. Um, I think in the seventh chapter, he says, Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashi surya yoho. He says, I'm the brilliance of the sun and the moon. In when after that, when he says, Sutre Manikana, after that verse, he talks of Rasoham Apsukampeya, Prabhasmi Shashi Surya Yoho. So the brilliance. So when you are imbibing that, it's reflecting. He's giving us so many examples, like you rightly pointed out. Atma Bodh has, Shankaracharya ji has actually given us so many day-to-day things that we can correlate and reflect and do nididhyasana upon the, the actual swarupa of Ishvara.
Dware Dehi also, it is so nice that from inside, when it is antarmukhi, then that itself becomes self-effulgent. So many beautiful words. I will just read once again. Kavi, Purana, Anushashita, Anuha Aniyah, Aniyan, Sarvasya Dhata, Achintya Rupa, Aditya Varna. Aditya Varna, remember the word? Asanga, untouched by what happens in its light. Tamasa Parasthat, it is above darkness. It illumines both light and darkness. It illumines particular knowledge as well as ignorance. It is pure consciousness. I repeat, Tamasa Parasthat. It is above darkness. It illumines both light and darkness. It illumines particular knowledge as well as ignorance. It is pure consciousness. The difference between contemplation and meditation. The verb yati is carried through from the previous verse. Everything else in this verse talks of the object of meditation and also what one gains. In contemplation, there is no difference between what you meditate upon and what you get. If you are doing upasana, the result is not going to be the same as what you meditate upon. If you invoke Indra, you will not become Indra. You will only go to another loka. But here, the one who meditates upon Paramapurusha reaches Paramapurusha. This is not a meditation wherein there is a knower known difference. However small the difference may be, if there is a difference, it would be upasana. If there is no difference, the knower is recognized as Parmeshwara. Therefore, there is no knower in reality. Here again, we have to, Dr. Savita had rightly pointed out the paragraph. Please try to recall. I repeat once again, the difference between contemplation and meditation. The verb yati is carried through from the previous verse. Everything else in this verse talks of the object of meditation and also what one gains. In contemplation, there is no difference between what you meditate upon and what you get. If you are doing upasana, the result is not going to be the same as what you meditate upon. If you invoke Indra, you will not become Indra. You will only go to another loka. But here, the one who meditates upon Paramapurusha reaches Paramapurusha. This is not a meditation wherein there is a knower known difference. However small the difference may be, if there is a difference, it would be upasana. If there is no difference, the knower is recognized as Parmeshwara. Therefore, there is no knower in reality. So the knower, knowledge, and the known, they all are one. They become one when you recognize. All these words are appellations of Ishvara, and that indeed I am. This is pure jnana. That is why Nididhyasana is entirely different from Upasana. Please pay attention. All these words are appellations of Ishvara and that indeed I am. This is pure jnana. That is why Nididhyasana is entirely different from Upasana. In Upasana, the Jiva and Ishvara are two different things, whether it is Sampat Upasana or Ahangraha Upasana, where you superimpose Ishvara's attributes on the Jiva. Even so, it can pave the way for jnana and is therefore considered a fruitful meditation. Contemplation, however, based on Shravana and Manana is entirely different from any type of meditation. If what you have understood is somehow contradicted by experience, Nididhyasana is to be done. Shastra says that you are Satchitananda. If you do not think so, you are making a judgment about yourself on the basis of your mind and you require further inquiry. Until you understand, you must study the Shastra, which is the Pramana. Vedanta reveals that you are the whole. So, you cannot say that you have studied Vedanta and are now turning your attention to something else to fulfill yourself. I repeat, as there was a breaking of voice, if what you have understood is somehow contradicted by experience, Nididhyasana is to be done. Shastra says that you are Sat Chit Ananda. If you do not think so, you are making a judgment about yourself on the basis of your mind and you require further inquiry. Until you understand, you must study the Shastra, which is the Pramana. Vedanta reveals that you are the whole. So, you cannot say that you have studied Vedanta and are now turning your attention to something else to fulfill yourself. If you say that in spite of knowing the Atma, you do not see that you are Ananda, logically, it cannot be true. But experientially, there seems to be a condition wherein there is knowledge and at the same time, some problem in owning up the knowledge. You cannot say you do not know, nor can you say you know that you are Brahman because you have problems. You have to eliminate the obstruction, which is a condition of the mind that seems to stand against the very knowledge that you are free. That knowledge seems to be affected by a process of habitual thinking, which you take care of it in a variety of ways. The main way is Nididhyasana. I read once again. If you say that in spite of knowing the Atma, you do not see that you are Ananda, logically it cannot be true. But experientially, there seems to be a condition wherein there is knowledge and at the same time, some problem in owning up the knowledge. You cannot say you do not know, nor can you say you know that you are Brahman because you have problems. You have to eliminate the obstruction, which is a condition of the mind that seems to stand against the very knowledge that you are free. That knowledge seems to be affected by a process of habitual thinking, which you take care of in a variety of ways. The main way is Nididhyasana. So I think here we have to recall that dissociation with our association with dukkha. And we
Also,
notice,
the orientation, no? This
yeah,
habitual recognition is that orientation that we are so caught up with.
mm, Contemplation upon the knowledge that I am Ishvara is not an action. Wherever a statement of fact is repeated or contemplated upon, no result is produced because it is an already accomplished fact. Siddha Vishaya. This is an important thing to know. An already accomplished fact is not the result of an action because it is not produced. Karma can produce, modify, cleanse, or help you reach something. There is a footnote. Karma can be of the following 4 types. Utpadya karma, that which produces something. Vikarya karma, that which modifies something. Samskarya, that which cleanses something. Apya, that which helps one to reach. Utpadya, Vikarya, Samskarya, Apya. So these are the 4 types of karma. Do you want me to stop here, Brahmaraji? Because it is something very deep subject.
I think we stop here so we can do a bit of
Yeah, I will repeat once again from here tomorrow, contemplation. I will just read once again the last shloka, what we did. Or
Belaji, only small 2-3 paragraphs are left.
yeah, I know. Just 2-3, but this
The
karma
shloka.
theory is very, very, and there are new words also.
Yeah, but very little was left. It's
Yeah, I know there is very little, one half page only.
not half, yeah, half page.
So if you want to read this and then we can repeat it tomorrow. So that is also fine. Shall
Yeah,
I take
okay.
over, Bela? Because if you have to leave, I will take over.
Yeah, please, Brahmaraji, kindly take over. I can continue sharing the screen. You can read from if you do not Siddha Vishaya. From here, right? Yeah.
There are the different types of karma, no?
Yeah, we can just, you can hear from contemplation upon the knowledge
Yeah.
that I am
Just
Ishvara.
give me 1 second. 1 second.
Yeah, I will quickly read then. Brahmaraji, please wait. You don't
I'm
bother.
fine. No.
Is it okay for you to share the screen?
You can
Contemplation
continue to
of...
share screen for a few minutes.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you, Brahmaraji.
Yeah.
Please continue
Share
reading.
screen. I will,
Yeah,
in the meantime,
yeah,
let me finish this and then when we're doing
yeah,
Manana, I'll shift to my sharing screen.
yeah, please.
The contemplation upon the knowledge that I am Ishvara is not an action. Wherever a statement of fact is repeated or contemplated upon, no result is produced because it is an already accomplished fact, Siddha Vishaya. This is an important thing to know. And an already accomplished fact is not the result of an action because it is not produced. Karma can produce, modify, cleanse, or help you reach something. The fact is, Atma is Brahman. It is a statement of fact like saying, fire is hot. This fact is not produced and therefore not a result of karma. As a statement of fact, it is to be merely understood. Similarly, the statement, I am Brahman, is a statement of fact that has to be understood. There is nothing to be accomplished by karma here. Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana are the threefold means to understand this, and it is adequate. Nididhyasana is contemplation in keeping with the Shastra. Therefore, Krishna says here that the one who contemplates on Parameshvara in this manner, that is, in keeping with what is said in the Shastra, he reaches that Parameshvara. Yaha kavim puranam anusmaret saha paramam purusham yati. This is knowledge. Krishna starts by saying that the one who knows him as Ishvara, being always in him, comes to him after death. There is no rebirth for this person. And another person who contemplates upon him as Ishvara, having gained from Shastra the knowledge that Atma is Parameshwara, contemplates upon that. He is the Parama Purusha that he is contemplating upon, and he too does not come back after death. Then there is another person for whom the contemplation is coupled with yoga, specifically pranayama. He is discussed in the next verse. He also reaches Ishvara because of his contemplation. All these possibilities are mentioned because they are obstructions, which are different for different people, and they have to be tackled differently depending on the person. A seeker uses yoga, various forms of upasana, and anything else that is necessary to remove obstructions. I think we will stop here. This is then the next verse comes in.
Brahmaraji, would you like to send the shloka 8 and 9 or
Yeah.
1 9?
Yeah. What were the two shlokas we did today?
I think 8 and 9, right?
8 and 9, no? Yeah.
You can see the screen, right, Brahmaraji?
I've got my book. I'll read this from here.
Okay. Dhanyavad.
अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन् कविं पुराणमनुशासितारम् अणोरणीयान् समरुस्मरेद्यः सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात्. So let's just keep our eyes closed and then reflect upon what we read, understood today. And let's each come up with our takeaways. I will read the meaning also of these verses. O Partha, reflecting as he was taught, with a mind endowed with the practice of yoga, with a mind that does not stray to anything else, he reaches the limitless, self-effulgent person. And the meaning of the next verse. The one who contemplates upon the one who is omniscient, the most ancient, who rules, subtler than the subtlest, ordainer of all, whose form cannot be conceived of, who is effulgent like the sun, who is beyond ignorance and knowledge. He goes to the limitless, self-effulgent person. So again and again, we're coming back to chapter 6. Abhyasa yoga yuktena na anyagamina chetasa. So a mind that is endowed with abhyasa, with practice, and a mind that is not going anywhere else. So that nishchayatmika buddhi and vyavasayatmika buddhi. Otherwise, there is so many ways it can go here and there. So you train the mind, discipline the mind, and coming to this path. And once on this path, you focus on this and continue on this path. Na anyagamina. Such a beautiful word. Such beautiful words. Na anyagamina chetasa. Because the mind is like a little child. When if the child goes to a toy shop and looks, he wants to buy one teddy bear, for instance, and he sets out to the toy shop, and there he finds so many other things that are attractive. Similarly, the mind, although on this path, might get distracted, deflected here and there, which brings to my mind the aspect of the Guru Mandala. Gurudev says, on this path, you will find so many attractive things. Sometimes you might get attracted to your, people who are around you, your participants, sometimes the teacher. So many things can hold you down. You can get attracted to. But keep your focus, attention on me. No, don't let it get frittered away by other attractions. So this abhyasa is important. At the same time, na anyagamina chetasa. And then what do we contemplate upon? That Kavim Puranam. And Kavim is the one who's all-knowing, the past, present, and the future. Like he's a poet who knows much beyond what we actually see. He sees something beyond. And what does he see? He sees the past, present, and the future. Puranam, ancient. Kavim Puranam. Anushasitaram, the one who rules over all the whole of creation. Anoraniyam, the one who's subtler than the subtlest. Sarvasya Dhata, and the one who ordains everything. Where when you contemplate on that aspect, you free yourself from becoming a victim and culprit of your own actions and karma. So you rise above that. And Aditya Varnam, the effulgence of the sun. Tamasaf Parastat, the one who is beyond darkness, beyond ignorance. What touched me was he is the one that shines, shines forth on both knowledge and ignorance. So even as holding on to knowledge is also binding. Knowledge, like soap, like how Gurudev says, it's like soap. And once it is done with, you wash it off. You don't hold on to knowledge even. Because this tamasaf parastat, this consciousness is beyond even that knowledge. It goes beyond that knowledge and darkness. Anyone else wants to share? Please go ahead. So if there is no one else sharing, we'll go to chapter 6. We stopped here yesterday. This is shloka number 28 of chapter 6. Yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashaha sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukhamashnute. So the meditator, free from the conflicts born of adharma, always connecting the mind in this manner, easily gains absolute happiness, born of contact with or recognition of Brahman. So in the previous verse, one second, just give me a second. So in the previous verse, the karta, the subject, was Uttama Sukha, and the object karma was the yogi. The meditator who receives the sukha. Whereas in this verse, the karta is the yogi and the object gained is atyanta sukha. Atyanta being a synonym for uttama, to complete the meter. Why does Krishna say that this sukha reaches the yogi in one verse and that the yogi gains it in the next? Does this mean that there is some confusion about who is the karta and who is the karma? No. He expresses the result of contemplation in both senses in order to resolve whatever confusion there may be, in fact. By saying Uttama Sukha reaches the yogi becomes an object. Now, does that mean that Ananda comes and overwhelms the person? If so, there is a problem. It means that the meditator is drowned in the Ananda. In other words, the Ananda got the person. When one looks at it this way, the person seems to be an object, which is not so. The person is the only subject in the world. Therefore, he or she cannot be the object. To make this clear, Krishna also puts it the other way, saying that the yogi gains ananda, uttama sukha, which means that the difference between karta and karma is not there. So when you look at Sarvadhyaksha, the aspect of Ishvara that we just learned in chapter 8, when you look at him as the ordainer of everything, and he is the only one. So there is no karta, no karma. In fact, even as I'm reading this, although we are 11 or 10 of us here in this group, each one of us is not separate. We are all just one. We're all that one Brahman, that Karmadhyaksha. So it is not like the Uttama Sukha is reaching the yogi. It apparently feels so when he removes all that mala, the avarana, the mala and the vikshepa, all that is removed. It appears as if it comes to him. And also he gains the sukha. It is not like gaining. It is already a siddha vishaya. It is not something that you gain. It is not like any karma you do. Like in chapter 8 today, we learned there are different forms of karma. The one that you can create, modify, you can change, all that is, and destroy. All this is different acts of karma and the results of karma. Whereas with respect to Brahma Vishaya, Brahma Jnana, it is not some karma that you don't accomplish anything because you already are that. All you have to do is just understand the fact. So, resolving the difference between the subject and object. There is really no difference between karta and karma, just as there is no difference between a river and the ocean at the point where the river reaches the ocean. You cannot tell whether the ocean receives the river or the river reaches the ocean. In the confluence of river and ocean, you will find that the river is all salt for miles. Therefore, it looks as though the ocean is entering the river. Who is the karta then? Who is the karma? We do not know. Sometimes we say the river reaches the ocean, and at other times we say the ocean reaches the river. Similarly here, the karta, the one who gains the ananda, does not see an ananda other than himself or herself. Therefore, the object and the subject are one and the same. Karta eva karma. This is unlike any other thing. It is the knowledge of oneself. Thus, these two verses are to be read together. In the present verse, Atmanam Yunjan means connecting or uniting the mind. The word evam, meaning in this manner, indicates what the mind is to be connected to, meaning that it is united with the knowledge that Atma alone is indeed everything. It is united with the knowledge that Atma alone is indeed everything. Aham eva idam sarvam. And uniting the mind with the object of contemplation, the meditator gains atyanta sukha, uttama sukha. The person is called a yogi here to indicate that his or her contemplation is successful. The yogi, the meditator, is one who is free of all obstacles. Again, this person is further described as one who is free from adharma, from all punya and papa, vigata kalmasha, because how one lives one's life is very important to the success of one's meditation. A successful meditator is one whose daily life is free from adharma. Living according to ethical values renders the person free from obstacles in the form of conflicts. A vigata kalmasha is one whose life is free from the conflicts born of adharma. And that vigata kalmasha, that yogi, attains atyanta sukha. When I was reading this adharma, the shackles that adharma brings in those conflicts, it is like if one is leading an adharmic life, unethical, it is like putting a fence around himself. He is binding himself more and more to the samsara. Whereas when you lead a life of dharma, it is where there are no shackles, no fences, nothing at all. It's like a freeway. There's nothing stopping you from reaching your goal. Atyanta sukha is not experiential. As has already been said, Atyanta sukha is a sukha that is not comparable to the degrees of sukha that you gather. This is where people make mistakes and talk about eternal bliss, etc. This sukha is not eternal bliss. It is one's nature, swarupa. So this atyanta sukha is not comparable to the degrees of sukha that you gather. This is where people make mistakes and talk about eternal bliss. This sukha is not eternal bliss. It is one's nature, swarupa. To refer to swarupa sukha as bliss means that it is experiential. Then comes the question, what is eternal bliss and how can I get it? If it is something that you gain and that only lasts for a period of time, how can you call it eternal bliss? If it is something experiential, there is no jnana, no knowledge there. Then what is this atyanta sukha? The verse itself defines it as Brahma samsparsha atyanta sukha, a sukha that is born out of recognizing Brahman, contacting Brahman. So wonderful, the way he's teased out the reason why we don't call it eternal bliss, because it's not experiential. It is not something that you gain after doing something and then that lasts for a while. Then it cannot be eternal. So it is not experiential. It is only knowledge. Whenever you touch something pleasant, the sukha you get is called sparsha sukha. Does this mean that by contacting Brahman, by hugging Brahman, you will gain atyanta sukha? No. Brahman is not an object available for hugging. Brahman is a word used by the Shastra for revealing oneself as the whole. Brahman is a word used by the Shastra for revealing oneself as the whole. Because of the knowledge that Atma is Brahman, there is sukha called Brahma Samsparsha Sukha, a sukha born of the contact of Brahman, meaning the recognition of the self as Brahman. This sukha belongs to Brahman. It is the very nature of Brahman, in fact. Therefore, it is called Swarupa Sukha. I think earlier in chapter 7 or 6, there are different kinds of sukhas, no? Vidya Sukha, the one that you get from the objects is called, there are three or four different types of sukha. One is that when you attain, accrue whatever object you want to, what you desire, that is one sukha. Then vidya sukha, when you are understanding, intellectually you're understanding, there is a little sukha that comes out, that is the vidya sukha. And then you have, can anyone help out? I don't, there's one more sukha. But this
Sparsha sukha.
sparsha sukha, is it?
Yeah.
And then this sukha that they're talking of is the atyanta sukha, atyantika sukha, which is Brahma samsparsha. So Swarupa Sukha is not a Sukha that is experiential. It is the Sukha that is recognized as the nature, Swarupa. Yeah, I think the last Sukha is the one that you get out of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, maybe. That Ananda Sukha, or I don't know, I might be giving the wrong term for that. But there are three different other forms of Sukha. It is a Sukha that is recognized as the nature, Swarupa, of every form of Sukha. In any form of sukha that you get, the sukha is because of Swarupa Sukha. The wholeness, that is the nature of Brahman. Born out of knowledge that the self is Brahman, the meditator is said to gain this Swarupa Sukha. Even the sukha that you get out of getting, say, a new mobile phone that you desired, when you get that moment of joy is because that the apparent joy that you get is actually connecting you to your Swarupa Sukha for that brief moment. It is connecting you to that source of happiness that you are. The happiness is not in the mobile. The happiness is not in gaining that mobile. The happiness you experience is that brief moment where that Swarupa Sukha is touched. Bliss always comes to an end. In his commentary to this verse, Shankara says that Atyanta Sukha is that which does not come to an end. If this Sukha were bliss, it would come to an end because any experience has a limit. Therefore, bliss is a finite Sukha, not Atyanta Sukha, that transcends all limits, the limits of time or degrees. Such limits do not exist for the Sukha that is one's very nature because Swarupa Sukha can never be experiential Sukha. So the Sukha that we experience in that Anandamaya Kosha when we do the Panchakosha meditation is bliss. It is only an experience. It is not the Swarupa Sukha that Swamiji is talking of here. It is bliss, of course. It is a good place to be in. But it is still finite. Because you can come out of that. Some disturbance comes and you come out of that. I will read till here, maybe. I don't know how much more is there. vision of Shastra. Yeah, I think I will read till one more para and then we'll stop today. So for Sukha to be experiential, there must be a particular condition of the mind, and that condition will always change because it is within time. Since it is within time, experiential Sukha is non-eternal. But in every Sukha, there is a Swarupa, a truth, and that truth is the nature of Atma, which is free from any form of limitation. This limitlessness, wholeness, Purnatva, implied by the non-separation of the knower from all that is known, the firm understanding that Sarvam Aham Asmi is the Swarupa Sukha, referred to in these two verses as Uttama Sukha and Atyanta Sukha. And being the very Swarupa of Atma, it cannot come to an end. As long as Atma is there, Sukha is there. And Atma, being beyond time, is eternal. This is very beautiful. I will just read this one paragraph again. In bliss always comes to an end. In his commentary to this verse, Shankara says that Atyanta Sukha is that which does not come to an end. If this Sukha were bliss, it would come to an end because any experience has a limit. Therefore, bliss is a finite Sukha, not Atyanta Sukha, that transcends all limits, the limits of time or degrees. Such limits do not exist for the Sukha that is one's very nature because Swarupa Sukha can never be experiential Sukha. For Sukha to be experiential, there must be a particular condition of the mind, and that condition will always change because it is within time. For instance, particular condition of the mind. You are sitting, before you sit for meditation, your mind is unsteady. You sit for meditation, your mind settles down, and in that stillness, you're able to experience that Sukha. So that is the condition of that mind, that stillness of the mind. But that will change because it is within time. Since it is within time, experiential Sukha is not eternal, which is why we're not able to continue that Ananda that we experience in the meditation throughout the rest of our life during the day. But in every Sukha, there is a Swarupa, a truth, and that truth is the nature of Atma. So even for us to experience that Sukha, because there is this Atyanta Sukha there, that is the Swarupa, it's because of that that we're able to experience even this experiential Sukha. And that Atyanta Sukha is free from any form of limitation. This limitlessness, wholeness, Purnatva, implied by the non-separation of the knower from all that is known. So the knower, knowledge and the known, all of them merge. The firm understanding that Sarvam Aham Asmi, there is only one, only you, nothing else, is the Swarupa Sukha, referred to in these two verses as Uttama Sukha and Atyanta Sukha. So there is no way the Sukha will not be there. It is, of course, limitless. It is beyond time. And being the very Swarupa of Atma, it cannot come to an end. As long as Atma is there, Sukha is there. And Atma, being beyond time, is eternal. Beautiful. Such lovely verses and knowledge to contemplate upon. So we'll stop here today and we'll do this. No effort is required to gain Swarupa Sukha from more.
I just searched for the Sukha because we read it just before. Correct. So it's it's from chapter 6 only, 21 verse, where there are mentioned three kind of Sukha: the Vishya Sukha, Vidya Sukha, and the Yoga Sukha.
Yeah, Yoga Sukha, correct.
Yoga
Thank
Sukha.
you.
Yeah, and Atindriya Sukha is also mentioned, that the Vishya, Atindriya Sukha.
Atindriya Sukha. Okay.
Atindriya Sukha.
This is Atindriya Sukha is the same as Atyanta Sukha or
The
Brahmasparsha.
the Vishya Sukha, Vidya Sukha, and the Yoga Sukha are all Buddhi Grahya. But Atindriya is that absolute Sukha is Buddhi Grahya, and also Atindriya, meaning that it is not due to any external situation or internal condition. That is Atindriya. It is not dependent on external or internal situation, condition.
Because it's already a Siddha Vishaya, no?
Yeah.
That is the beauty of this knowledge of Atma. It is already a Siddha Vishaya. Only thing we have to do, all the effort we have to do is to clean up all that thing, the covering that is covering this Siddha Vishaya. That is all that we need to.
And also the Yoga Sukha, it is also not because of some external situation. It is also born of an internal situation. Otherwise, this Vishya is always external. It is the object and situations. Vishya.
Yeah. So it is good for us to reflect and say which Sukha we are following, which Sukha we are after. Are we after Vishaya Sukha, Vidya Sukha, Yoga Sukha, or Atyanta Sukha? I mean, there's nothing wrong in following all of this as long as you know what your priority is.
Yeah, we are following all the Sukhas basically
all the
now.
Sukhas. Correct.
Yeah.
But beauty is of this knowledge is if you can see that everything that even in the Vishaya Sukha, if you yoke yourself to that Swarupa Sukha that is there. See, the reason why we experience that Vishaya Sukha is also because of that Swarupa Sukha within. Isn't it? So if we can turn our attention to that, then gradually we will tune our minds to prioritizing this Atyanta Sukha, and then slowly the hold that Vishaya Sukha has, then slowly our wants, our desires will start coming down. You will not say, okay, only if I get this, I will be happy. With or without that, I'm still happy. And so on. Vidya Sukha, Yoga Sukha. Yoga Sukha, of course, we have to continue because we are on the path of Karma Yoga, where we need to train and discipline the mind. So Yoga Sukha is, of course, required till we reach till we understand who we are.
Yeah. The meditations and all the pranayams and prayer we do.
Pranayams, meditation, yoga. Because Swamiji said, no, yoga, abhyasa is yoga and yoga is abhyasa, is knowledge, is the way to get to the knowledge. So all those tracks, if you remember that the 2 paragraphs that were shared in the group, all these tracks, ultimately, there is only one track, that is the Jnana track. Yeah. If we understand that, then we will have a better perspective. Otherwise, sometimes, at one point, I had a confusion. I was kind of mentally asking Gurudev, I say, you're giving us so many things now. I'm so confused. Which one to follow? There is a path. I have only this one life. In this one life, what is that path to follow? What is that one thing to follow that will that will take me to the purpose of this life? Now it is clear that, all that we do, ultimately, it is only one track. That is the track of knowledge.
We have to live in knowledge a whole day, like always checking up on ourselves, applying the knowledge and receiving that gratitude. Yeah.
And then going beyond the knowledge. In Nididhyasana, see, the knowledge is required for us to remove all this orientation, these obstacles, all of that, and bring in that clarity of mind. That is why Gurudev says knowledge purifies the intellect. And in a purified intellect alone can this knowledge dawn. So in order to do that, this knowledge is important. But ultimately, you drop even the knowledge. And then that vritti jnana drops, and then you become one with yourself, the Brahman. Very nice. So we'll stop here today. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu.